Welcome to Upticks. I'm Jake Falcon, the founder of Falcon Wealth Advisors and your host of Upticks. Today is episode 156, 4 Ways to Not Lose Money. Thank you so much for joining me back on the show. Hope all of you out there are staying safe and healthy during this horrible pandemic. For today's topic, I wanted to talk about how not to lose money. As of the recording of this episode of Upticks, the Dow Jones is around 35,000 and the S&P is well over 4,000. So many of our clients have been asking, Jake, your returns have been great the last few years. How do we not lose money? And so today I wanted to count down 4 ways to not lose money. All right, so we'll kick it off with number 4. So I'll go down and count it down to number 1. So number 4, and this may be obvious, is a simple way to not lose money is to not invest money, right? So that would be, instead of buying stocks, bonds, and other investments that carry some sort of market risk, you literally just put it in a bank that has FDIC insurance, or you bury it in your backyard or under your mattress. Now, this is kind of a bit of a trick tip here, though. You still potentially could be losing money. And if you refer back to episode 155 of Upticks, I explain why, right? But that'd be number 4. So starting with number 4, a way not to lose money is simply don't invest it. Don't risk it. Put it under your mattress, bury it in your backyard, go to a bank that has FDIC insurance, deposit it. And other than bank robbers or someone going in your backyard or robbing your house, you probably won't lose it. Again, something could always happen, but that'd be one way. We don't recommend that, by the way. Okay, some of the things that we do maybe recommend would be number 3. Number 3 is diversify. Now, many new clients, when they come in, and I haven't heard this a lot, but it does happen sometimes, is they think by not putting all their eggs in one basket, they mean by not having just one financial advisor. By the way, that's not what that means. Not having all your eggs in one basket means not putting all of your investments or all of your money in one investment. So not loading up in one stock or one bond, right? Or all in cash would be an example of putting all of your eggs in one basket. Having multiple advisors doesn't really diversify you. And the way to think about that is, if you hire Falcon Wealth Advisors to manage your money and XYZ investments to manage your money, well, if we don't know what each other are doing, in fact, you could be doubling up on some investments and not even know about it. So you actually could be doing more harm than good by having multiple advisors, because somebody's not looking at your overall picture and diversifying it quarterly. What I'm talking about is having multiple stocks, multiple bonds, different types of stocks. So different sectors, styles, large, small, international, US, gold, oil, real estate, treasury notes, corporate bonds, municipal bonds, preferred stock, cash, right? All of these different types of investments that all have different correlations with each other. That is going to help dampen any type of short-term market volatility, because when we're diversifying a portfolio for a client, we are looking for something called a negative correlation. And all that simply means is that one investment goes up, the other one goes down. And another point of this, so if you're looking at your portfolio and maybe you have 35 stocks, and on the year, maybe 32 of them are up, but 3 of them are down. Believe it or not, that's okay. That means you're diversified, right? You don't want all of your stocks up at the same time, typically, believe it or not, because that means normally they might have a correlation, a positive correlation. So when the market goes down, they're all going to go down at the same time. So I always joke with clients and colleagues that being diversified is always having to say you're sorry. And the reason is, if you're diversified, I would expect something to be down in your account at all times. And I would hope, right, that something would be up at all times. It doesn't always work out that way, right? There's no guarantees here. You know, again, for my compliance there are no guarantees and nothing is perfect. But a good way to dampen volatility in your portfolio is to not have all your eggs in one basket. That doesn't necessarily mean have multiple advisors. That means to diversify your investments across many different sectors, styles, types, industries. And that's what we do at Falcon Wealth Advisors, right? So that's my number 3 way to not lose money. diversify your holdings. Don't just buy 2 or 3. Don't go load up on Bitcoin or Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, and think you're diversified either. That's not what I'm talking about, right? You need to have different types of investments that all correlate differently with each other and have, in my opinion, again, a competent financial advisor, a professional that's managing that. I subscribe to Bloomberg Technology. I love that platform. It's a software company that feeds me all kinds of research and data from all over the place. And we use that when we're making our portfolio decisions for our clients. It's very important. Okay, good. So number 2 is to sell high and buy low, right? So many people think a way to not lose money is to sell a stock when it's down because they want to stop the pain. However, if that stock has very strong fundamentals and we still see a bright future ahead for that company, that is absolutely the worst thing you want to do is sell a stock when it's low. You want to buy it when it's low. And this is a big value add of our team at Falcon Wealth Advisors because I get it. It can be very emotional out there when you see the market swinging. And if this is your retirement, your nest egg, and all the money that you have, you hate to see it go down in value. I completely understand, right? The reality is, though, if you do that and you sell a stock when it's down, you are doing permanent damage to your portfolio because once you sell it, depending again what you buy, you're locking in a loss. So what we do at Falcon Wealth Advisors is we simply rebalance when things get out of sector weighting. So what do I mean by that? We use a 5% threshold. So if you have half your money in stocks and half your money in bonds, if that becomes 55-45 because the stock market's done well, better than the bonds, we sell those stocks when they're high and we lock in gains and we go and buy bonds or maybe other stocks that are low while they're cheap, right? And what that's going to do, it's going to lock in gains so that when the market does roll over and does pull back, because it happens and it will happen again, corrections are normal and healthy. When the market does pull back, you don't lose all that money you made, right? You locked in that gain, right? Hey, we made 20% in this stock. We're going to sell, a third of your position and lock in that gain. We don't want to lose it. And we're going to go buy something else when it's low. So rebalancing is very important. Some firms use a time frame, so they'll rebalance, quarterly or every 6 months. We prefer to do it when the market dictates it, right? So we don't want to do it on time intervals. We're going to do it based on market movements. We feel like that's, to us, a more efficient way to capture selling high and buying low, right? Versus just using time. In the end, though, I'll tell you this: if you have a 401k and it offers a rebalancing feature, I would much rather you consider using that versus not at all, right? So again, if you're doing this on your own, or you've got a 401k and you want to make sure that you're not losing money as you make it, rebalancing is what I'm talking about. Is a very powerful thing to do. It's a very prudent thing to do. It's a smart thing to do, and will help protect your nest egg as you save for and plan for retirement. Okay, good. So do you want to hear the number 1 way not to lose money? Good. Hopefully you all do. But before I do that, I'm going to have a quick plug for our social media. So again, if we're not already connected on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, please send me a friend request. I love growing my network out there on social media. My firm, Falcon Wealth Advisors, is also on the same platforms. So on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Go ahead and give our page a like and a follow so that you don't miss another episode of Upticks. Also, a quick plug to the other financial advisors on my team. Corey Bittner has his own show called In the Money Insight. And then Scott Sturgeon, our third advisor, has 2 shows. He's got a show called Mental Dividends, which is very similar to Upticks and In the Money Insight. And then a fun show that he's co-hosting with Joshua Briscoe, who's over at 810 Radio, about sports and money. So you can find all of that right here on our YouTube channel, Falcon Wealth Advisors Collective, or on your favorite podcast platform. Okay, so the number 1 way not to lose money is to not let emotions dictate investment decisions, right? And I alluded to this in tip number 2, right? But don't get emotional. Don't just fire off and sell everything or get aggressive. Don't do it. I'm not saying emotions are bad. What I'm saying is responding or reacting to an emotional trigger is bad. And we've seen clients, not very many, make completely irrational moves because they're letting their emotions dictate their investment decisions. And you could potentially ruin your retirement, all because you overly attached to emotion and started making decisions. And you could think about it as simple as this. Have you ever been in traffic? And there's not much traffic in Kansas City, but maybe somebody ahead of you is driving erratically or slowly or whatever. And maybe you give them a little honk on the horn, right? Is anyone guilty of that? I've done it before. I'm embarrassed that I have, but I have, right? And what happens during that is that we're having emotion. We're only seeing the world through our lens. And then we're responding to that because it's not going the way that we want it. Instead of recognizing that, hey, maybe that person is elderly or they're lost, they don't know what they're doing, and giving them, the benefit of the doubt that, hey, they've got their own stuff going on as well. I am not going to respond emotionally, right? Because I can assure you most of the time, and maybe not always, but I certainly most of the time, after I do give a little honk on the horn, I'm embarrassed. I'm like, why did I do that? That's silly. I responded to my emotion, right? So that's a small example of responding to your emotion, of giving somebody a little beep on the horn when they're annoying you in traffic, right? Rather than just embracing it, understand that that's a short-term emotional reaction and not responding to it. So you don't want to do that with your nest egg. Again, that's why clients rely on us at Falcon Wealth Advisors. We are not going to get emotional about the markets. We're not going to get emotional about your investments. We do take it very seriously. We understand that this is all the money that you've worked for and you've saved hard. We're going to use facts. We're going to use math. We're going to take big, deep breaths when things are going crazy in the market. And we're going to use all of Bloomberg and all of our research and our collective wisdom with our colleagues at Hightower and through Bloomberg, like I mentioned, and make good fact-based decisions for your portfolio, right? So it's the number one thing. Do yourself a favor, do your family a favor. Do not use emotions when you're looking to make investment decisions. You can do permanent damage, severely cost you and your family literally thousands of dollars just by overreacting to your emotions. So it's not nearly as bad as giving a little honk on the horn, right? But giving a honk on the horn isn't nearly as bad, but responding to your emotions on your investments is really a bad thing. Okay, good. So quick recap. Again, 4 ways not to lose money. 1, don't invest, right? No harm, no foul, no risk. Put it under your mattress. Get a safe, get a fireproof safe, or go to the bank, get some FDIC insurance. Number 3 is diversify, right? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Buy different stocks, different bonds. That's what we do for our clients at Falcon Wealth Advisors. And we pay very close attention to that negative correlation is what we're looking for. Number 2 is rebalance. When things are high, sell them. When things are low, buy them, right? Have discipline doing that. Rebalance. We use a 5% tolerance threshold. Whatever works for you. There's studies out there, I believe, that, it's splitting hairs a little bit, whether you do time or, again, we just prefer to use market fluctuations because we think that makes sense. But that's how we do it. And then the number 1 way is don't let your emotions dictate your investments decisions. You can do some very big harm to you and your family's portfolio, all for just overreacting to your emotions. All right, good. So thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Upticks. It's about all the time that I do have for you today. The Olympics are in full swing. I've been enjoying that with Rachel. Last night, we were watching men's handball, which I thought would have been like in a racquetball court. I thought that's what handball was, where you, instead of using a racket, you hit the ball with your hand, but it's not. It was a combination of soccer and basketball. And in my humble opinion, it took the worst of both of those sports and combined them together. It was really hard to watch. I don't even remember who. I think Italy won. It was a semifinal game. But you know what? And maybe this is just me being goofy, but I was like, you know what? I could probably do that. It doesn't really look that crazy. So you never know, 2024 or whatever Olympics, and you see me out there playing handball. It's because I went out there and got after it. But no, I'm joking. I'm not going to go learn how to play handball. But like I said, hope all of you out there are staying safe and healthy. I'm finishing up a really good book called Loon Shots. I do recommend it. It talks about using innovation, which is one of the things that I think we do well at Falcon Wealth Advisors, and then using systems to marry the two together. It's a really fascinating book. Rachel beat me to the punch. She listened to it, and I'm reading it. So she flew through it faster than me. She goes on long walks in the morning with Einstein. But it's a really good book. I do recommend it. Hopefully I can finish that up soon so I can have more recommended reading for you. But again, thank you so much for tuning in. Our subscriber count continues to grow. Thank you for everyone that's subscribing, and hope you have a great week.